Welcome back to the Post Trail Rundown podcast with your host, Raul Martinez. So this is less of a rundown one because I bike ride today, or I took a ride on the bike today. Stopped to play at the park with the kids, and this one is more for the parents. So, parenting hacks, and by no means am I a professional parent or a guidance counselor in the art of parenting. I do have a bunch of kids, and I try to do my best, and I try to research the art of transferring information and making people better. So the idea with this one was fairly simple. Splash pad kids and the social hierarchy that children have within their own communities, within their own playgrounds, within their own splash pads, for this case in point being today's case, and the point being to allow children to play within their ranks, earn their place amongst their peers, and play an integral role for their development by allowing them to experience those things. So here's what the situation was. Tons of kids playing in the playground / play pad, and everyone's doing their own thing. So the kids are, bossing the little kids around, and the bigger, stronger kids, the faster kids are playing in certain areas, and they're able to migrate faster or sooner and get there and take over the little area than the little kids can get to. And then you have the overreaching parents, or the helicopter parents, yelling commands and, hey, don't do this, and hey, stop that. And I tolerated it for about 5 minutes or so until I can see, and I'm observing not only the parents, I'm listening to the parents, watching the parents on how they're parenting from afar, and then watching the kids play 20, 30 feet away from them, and these parents fucking yelling shit at the kids. And I get it, right? They're trying to be courteous to other kids, but that's not the way I think it works. So I did have a moment where I looked over at the parents and I was like, hey guys, would you do me a favor? If you are going to yell commands at your kids, could you please call your kids to you and then give them those commands so that you're not yelling at the whole group of kids, confusing the rest of the kids. And by yelling with that angry tone, kids kind of like, they shell up a little bit and they're like, well, who's getting yelled at? What's happening? What is this? Why are we getting yelled at? And so for all the other kids that were not supposed to be getting yelled at, that's why I did that. I was like, hey, you can see the look on every kid's face that wasn't getting yelled at. They would stop and like, was it me? And then they kind of like get mopey, and it cuts the energy source out of them because they don't know if they're the ones being reprimanded. So it was annoying to see. My kid was kind of acting like, man, who the hell keeps yelling? And then there was other kids, and even the smaller kids that don't understand the commands themselves. They're just hearing like an angry adult tone giving commands. It was awkward, and I'm sure I made it more awkward by simply talking to these parents about it. The coolest part was this, though they didn't accept it well, because no adult likes to hear how to parent. And I wasn't asking them to parent a certain way or don't yell at their kids. I was simply saying, break your kids' attention from what they are doing wrong, bring them to you, have them look at you so they're focusing on you, and then give them the commands that you want them to actually perform. So stop telling kids what not to do and bring them to you and tell them what they should be doing. And again, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm sure you guys are all parents for the most part, and you guys understand this, but it's frustrating to see because you're demoralizing kids, and then you're making some kids overly dependent on the parents for what they should be learning in their social hierarchy. And so again, the parents were pretty cool with it. At first they were resistant. They didn't like the idea that somebody was telling them how to do their thing, and I wasn't telling them how to parent. I was just suggesting a better way. What happened then was this: they did that very same thing that I asked them to. And it wasn't because I was like, hey, you better do this shit, and I'm freaking in your face. It wasn't like that. It was very cordial, polite, sir, ma'am, thank yous were involved. And the moment that they called their kids over, they told their kids what they wanted to do. The kid actually looked them in the eye, was like, okay. And then they went about it. And the stuff they were asking them not to, now we had true behavior change. Now they didn't have to yell the same command 10 times, which was annoying and irritating. It was one command, a focused attention command, where they actually made eye contact. That is amazing. What more could you ask for from your child who is actually listening now, because you are looking each other in the eye and understanding each other, or understanding what's expected of one another? That's fantastic. So when I saw them do this, I stopped what I was doing. I looked at them. I said, ma'am, thank you very much. I know it was difficult to hear me kind of express myself about what I think would have been a better way to handle this situation, but I saw that you did it. Fantastic job. Again, thank you. I didn't mean to be rude, but thank you. And they're like, yeah, thanks. And so what was cool was it carried over. They kind of left this area and went to another area, and I noticed that they kept doing that, and they kept getting a positive result as far as attention from the child and obedience from the event that they were asking them to fix. So I was like, man, hopefully that left something cool in them. I figured I'd share with you guys, and it could probably help somebody over there, or it just reinforces the fact that you guys are already doing awesome things as parents. And then the other thing was going to be this. When kids play and they're doing their own thing, it's important to let them do that. If your child is smaller and weaker because it just hasn't developed yet, there's no need to interfere with the bigger kids that are doing certain things. The little kid just has to get left out until he's capable of jumping into that circle. So if the kids run too fast, don't slow the other kids down so that your kid can play with them. Let it just happen. There's a social order amongst kids where they start to realize who the leaders are, who the helpers are, who the motivators are, and you have to let that come out in them. Otherwise, you're doing the work for them, and now your leaders are like, well, somebody's going to take charge anyway, so why should I do it? And then your people who actually need to just catch up and be motivated to catch up are just like, well, somebody's going to step in and tell them to let me play, and now they don't have to work hard at becoming fit enough, strong enough, fast enough to actually join the pack. So it's okay that there's little stragglers and there's little rugrats and they're not developed yet. Let them play with the bigger kids. Let them leave them behind. Let the little kids struggle to be a part of that group. All of these things are what's going to make the children better and more secure and stronger. But we can't be overreaching and we can't be helicopter parenting and being involved in all their mess. Do we have to keep them out of danger? Sure. If a coyote's lurking, or if a rattlesnake is coming, or if something weird like a creepy adult is in the way, we have those interference moments. But when it's kids on kids, they need to have the opportunity to develop amongst themselves. It is super important. Boys from ages freaking 2 to 6 are increase adrenaline dumps, increase testosterone dumps. They're getting their first doses of being a boy and being rambunctious. Like, let them be wild. Otherwise, you're going to get passive kids, and we're going to have an influx of weak kids that we see in weak middle adults. I don't want that for your children. I definitely don't want that for my children. So I figured I'd dump that on here and see if it resonated with anybody else. I'm swinging mostly to cool down. It's about 111 degrees. I don't know if you could see it, but it's 111 degrees. I found some shade after my bike ride. And also, I'm very pumped about my little dude. He rode 4 miles in the desert on a single stroke bike, so it doesn't even have gears, so it's one stroke bike, and he did freaking great, so I'm really proud of him. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. The lesson and the moral of the story: let your children develop to be strong young adults. Don't overreach, don't overparent, and it's okay to step in and offer advice. I think that builds community. I hope it builds community. I hope those people are happy that I did that. And again, I didn't do it in a weird, crude way. There's a way to do everything. The way kind of I'm doing it here is almost the exact same way that I explained it to them. And I hope that our society becomes better because we became better, because we were able to come together and do the things that needed to be done as a fucking community. Talk to your neighbors, be friendly, unite, my friends. And thank you for tuning in.